Now today, we're going to make our own carnival game called Snap the Dot. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's where you've got a moving dot across the screen and you have to press the button when it's exactly in the center of the screen. Now to do that, we're going to create a variable that's going to store our dot. So of course we want to make sure it's a nice descriptive name, so we're going to call it dot. Now when we start our program, we want to set our variable so it actually has a value. Now today, we're actually going to use our game functions, so we're going to set our dot to a sprite. Now a sprite is basically just your image. In particular, we're going to create a sprite at x equals 2 and y equals 2. So here, you can see our dot is in the center of our screen. Now if you hover over it, you'll see that the simulator actually tells you what the coordinates are. So you can see that the origin, our 0, 0, is in the left-hand corner. We can change that, of course, if we wanted to, but I want my dot to be right in the center of my screen. So when we started it, we created a variable, and we said display that sprite right there. Now, we want to play our game forever. We don't want it to stop at this exact moment in time. So we're going to go to our game, and we want our sprite to be moving. Now, there's lots of new blocks you haven't seen before. So we want to have one that's going to change the value of our sprite. So in this case, we're going to move that sprite by 1. Now, in order to actually move it, you have to change that. So because sprite doesn't exist, you have to do it to your dot. Now you'll see, if you reload it, it's moving, but it's not actually bouncing back. However, some of you are really observant, and you'll notice that there is basically an if statement already done for you. So if on edge, bounce. So if we drag that over, and of course we got to make sure it's using our sprite, so it's our dot. So every time it's on the edge, it's going to bounce. Now that is a fast program. So we're going to have to add a pause. But before we do that, I just want you to take a look at the code briefly. So if you flip over to JavaScript, you'll see that as it's calling it, we're creating our variable at the top. It's in a forever loop, and there is a function, the if on edge bounce. Now switching back over to our program, we got to make it slower. Otherwise, well, I don't know about you, but my reaction is never going to be fast enough to win this game. So I go to my basic, and just like we did with our bop it, there's that pause. So if we throw that pause in there now and restart our game, you can see we've got a bit of a game going. It's moving back and forth. Now you can, of course, adjust that pause, which is the gap between that forever loop. So if you want to make it faster, you can type you can say make it 50 milliseconds, and you'll see that it goes faster because it's a smaller pause. If you want to make your game easier, you can do a bigger pause. So while I'm testing it, I'm going to make it nice and slow because then I can know I'm going to win. So that way I can test if I get it in the center versus if I have it just if I press in the wrong spot. So I'm actually going to make this really slow. I might say do 300. Of course you can change that, but I've set it so it's slow enough that when I play my game, when I'm testing it, I'm going to know whether I'm getting it in the right spot or not.